How you doing? So what I did was I created two new affirmation videos. I'm probably not going to announce them every time I do it, but since I just did it and uploaded them, they're basically variations of the mind movie. The mind movie has the kaleidoscope at the beginning, which gets you into that relaxed state. I recommend going that way. But some people may want to jump right into the affirmations or they don't like the kaleidoscope or whatever. I want to cater to all preferences. So for those two, at least, one wealth abundance. The wealth abundance one is extended a bit with the imagery, and then the happy marriage one in Neville's voice with some background tempo underneath and imagery. So basically, I took off the kaleidoscope part at the beginning, and I went just straight into the affirmation with the visuals and the background tempo. I hope that it caters to people's multiple preferences. Not everybody likes the kaleidoscope. Um, whatever works for you. Whatever works for you. I want to offer a lot of different material on my channel, different variations. You know, I noticed that a lot of the affirmation loops of Neville stuff is just like a static image. I have, you know, multiple pictures, sometimes video clips embedded. I think that's nice. So anyway, hopefully you like it. Um, the other thing that I wanted to talk about, this is like my quick and dirty video attire. Um, I haven't even gotten ready for the day yet. I'm just going right into this. Um, what I noticed with Neville is that if you read his books, I recommend you read his books, right? And honestly, I'm going to give a plug here. In my all my descriptions for my videos, I have an affiliate thing for Amazon. Costs you nothing extra to go through that link. So I would appreciate it. Helps to support the channel and the things I do here. Um, so you can get his books online, either in print or electronically. I use the Kindle Reader on my phone, and I have them delivered to my phone, and it's always with me in this format. And the great thing is you can download like a Kindle Reader for your PC or Mac, whatever you use, tablet, whatever, and you can look at Kindle stuff on that. You don't need an actual Kindle to read Kindle stuff, or you could get the hardcover, which is a little more money usually, and you have to get it shipped to you. The Kindle stuff is automatic digital download. So anyway, I would appreciate that if you're so inclined to acquire something like that. So anyway, I recommend reading his stuff. There's no excuse. There's no substitute for Neville's actual words, and in a complete format of a book. You can even get the Neville Goddard interpretation of Scripture. There's a volume for that where he goes through Scripture, Bible stuff, and talks about that, what that really means. Most people think, most people out there think it's a literal thing, and it really isn't. It's mostly symbolic. The ancients wrote in symbolism. I don't know where this modern thing where you read it like literal history came from. It's so intellectually lazy. I don't want to get on that right now because I just, it really annoys me sometimes. So, you have that, right? Read Neville's actual words. The other thing is there's a lot of his lectures online. Go into my video history. I have lots. I have a whole playlist of just Neville speaking. I usually have it pop up at the end of my videos. The playlist for Neville's actual lecture videos, where it's really just a lecture set to a static image. They're just audios. And listen to his complete lectures on various topics, okay? Now, this is where I'm going with this, okay? If you listen to Neville's words, right, and the things he speaks about when he tells about people who actually took his advice and started doing what he talks about, and when you read his books, right? And he gives these examples of people. Like there's the one example he gives in one of his his lectures about the girl on the streetcar, right, where she is crying and it's raining and it's really not salty tears but the salt of the spray of the ocean because she needed to go home to her island nation where she came from, and all of this manifested based on her imaginal act. And you read in his books about these examples of people who did this or did that. And this is what I noticed. I noticed that maybe it was a different time period, but today we question ourselves way too much. We're constantly have this like anxiety where, we want to do an imaginal act and we think about it, but then we start thinking about, oh, you start second guessing yourself to this ridiculous extreme. And you end up sabotaging yourself and sabotaging your imaginal act. If you look at, you listen to Neville about the people who took him up on this and did this. And again, this was decades ago, right? Neville passed on from this slice of time from this reality in 1972. So the examples he's giving are from like the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, roughly. And people maybe then just didn't, I don't know. It was a different time period. People, maybe they just did it, right? They just did it. They didn't, I'm not saying they didn't have questions or whatever, but once they decided to do it, they did it. And they didn't backtrack. And I think a lot of people end up backtracking. Look, I'm no exception here. I'm not saying that I'm special. I'm a part of this time period that you are a part of as well. And I am also subject to all the distractions. They didn't have the distractions that we have now. They didn't have 50 million channels on the TV or the telly, right? They didn't have that. They didn't have satellite and internet and all these, blogs and YouTube, right? They didn't have any of this stuff, any of this extra media that we have now. And it was also a more formal time, and people maybe kept a lot of their private feelings in. Like when you spoke with a stranger, or you met somebody, or you got up on stage or whatever, people spoke in a formal fashion. And you see that in some of the comedies at the time, or some of the TV where people are amongst themselves and they're acting normal, the way we may act now. But then once the camera gets on them, it's like their whole voice changes. Everything changes. And they become formal and kind of reserved and laid back because they're being watched, right? And a lot of times that's what it was like in person-to-person interaction, maybe with strangers or whatever. Today we're much more casual. We're open. Our insecurities, we wear them like a badge, right? And we're so insecure, and we question ourselves, and we're anxiety riddled, and so we're constantly, oh, I think this is good, but what if it doesn't do this, or what if it doesn't do that? I do my imaginal act, and then afterwards I'm complaining about my life, and my mental diet is sloppy. There you go. So you'll notice in a lot of the old stuff, the stuff he mentions in his books and in his lectures, that people just did it. They just did it. They did the imaginal act. They stuck to it. They did it on a regular basis. They were more disciplined. I'm convinced it was a different time period. People were just more disciplined. I mean, these were people who lived through world wars, right? Lived through things like depressions and stuff. They didn't have the creature comforts, a lot of them that we do now, that we take for granted. Our poorest people today, now I'm not talking about maybe third world nations where maybe they truly are poor, right? And they don't have the basics. I'm talking about in developed nations, right? We talk about the poor, and we do have poor. We have homeless, right? But what I'm talking about there's a lot of people who qualify as poor or underprivileged or under a certain socioeconomic line, whatever, who, if you compare them and how they live and what they have, what they do have, to people who are truly poor and destitute, they're rich. Our poorest people in the developed world are rich, not only compared to people who truly are poor and destitute, right? But also compared to a lot of people in the past who may have been just regular, not necessarily wealthy, but not poor either, maybe even middle class. We have so many creature comforts, you know. Our poorest people are some of the most physically overweight people, so they're not undernourished. I mean, there's good nutrition, and there's also, I'm talking more about, you know, they're not emaciated, they're not skinny, right? Neither am I, neither. But what I mean is, you know where I'm going with this, right? That our poorest people are in many ways rich compared to people of the past, and also people who really do fit into those categories. So why I mention that is because all of us, we have so many distractions and we have so many creature comforts. You know, everybody's got the phones. You know, I mean, when I'm on the New York City subway, everybody has got these things, right? It used to be these things in the beginning might have been a privilege, right? Everybody's got them. Kids, old people, people who look like they're rich, people who might be middle class or poor, or everybody's got it. It's like a necessity of life now. And everything comes through here, everything, all kinds of media. You could literally just look up anything. You've got the internet data at your fingertips here, right? YouTube, social media, everything. So we've got all these distractions. We've got all these distractions, and we've got all these things constantly bombarding us, right? And you don't only have your own insecurities, you got everybody else's insecurity that's constantly being displayed. And we even when we talk to each other, right? We're open. We're open book. We wear it on our sleeve. We wear it like a badge of whatever. All of our insecurities and everything. So a lot of times when people try to manifest, or they find out about this stuff and they try to go into it, they're carrying all this other baggage in with them, right? And this baggage, for a while at least, until they become mentally disciplined, affects them, you know. And even some of us who have made such great progress and strides still, from time to time, backtrack, one step forward, two steps back, two steps forward, one step back, that sort of deal. So be patient with yourself, right? But also understand, try to look to those people from the bygone era as inspiration. They took Neville's words and advice and they went with it. And they didn't always second guess themselves. Now, do I truly know that people in decades ago didn't have worries, or maybe this won't work or whatever? I don't know them personally, okay? But I don't know, when you read it, and maybe he was picking the cream of the crop. I don't know. But, these people, yeah, Neville, this makes sense. I'm going to do it. And they sit there and they imagine, and they do it. They talk about the woman with her family, and they're imagining the house they were going to live in, or the husband and the wife that were imagining and ended up buying like the apartment building, or the ritzy apartment in the building, or whatever. I mean, you go back, he's got these examples littered throughout his books and his lectures. And the people just did it. They did it. They just did it. And they didn't worry about this, that, the other thing, insecurities. Put that stuff out of your mind. And Neville tells you to put that stuff out of your mind. Mental diet. The minute you start thinking the stuff you don't want, disregard it. Put it aside. And it does take some practice. Practice makes perfect. Do it. But read the stuff, okay? Get Neville's material and read it. Listen to Neville's lectures. They're all out there. You have no excuse to not consume this material and become well-versed in it. And I'm not talking about a single read or a single watch or a listen, whatever, over and over and over again. All right. I can't tell you how many times I've got a playlist on my phone of Neville's audio lectures, right? And a lot of times, sometimes I like to listen to music or whatever. I like music videos on YouTube or whatever. But a lot of times I find myself listening to Neville's lectures. I can't tell you how many times I've listened to certain lectures over and over again. And sometimes the 20th time you'll notice something. You're like, how come I didn't pick that up the other 19 times I listened to it? So it makes sense, you know. So there's my impassioned plea to you to to put all this other crap aside and and go with the flow. Get with the program. Get with the program and stick with it. And you will see results. Okay? And don't get worried every time something doesn't work out. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've had success after success after success in my life compared to where I was 20 years ago or 10 years ago even. But I still, things happen for whatever reason. You get, Neville gives a story about in one of his lectures. I have it in my playlist somewhere, right, of a Neville lecture where he talks about this guy. He's like a psychologist or a psychiatrist. He's a trained professional. And the guy, what did he do? He gives these little anecdotes before he gets into the big thing of what this guy talks about. But it's the guy who treats the woman who has the child who won't speak, something like that, right? Look at my thing. You'll see something about a child, whatever. But anyway, this guy speaks about, he's talking to Neville. He gives a little aside before he gets into the main thing. And the little aside is that he goes, I'm out there. I'm looking to buy a house. I'm looking to buy a house. And I imagine the house and everything. And it's there. But then doubt creeps in. Doubt creeps in. And it manifests in the form of another competing buyer who has more money than me. And they buy the house out from under me and leave me out in the cold. That's what your doubts do to you. And we all get them. I get them too. I get financial setbacks. I get unexpected bills. And then I'm between a rock and a hard place for a while. And I'm telling you, it takes a lot of discipline and grit and stubbornness and perseverance to stick to your guns and keep telling yourself it's going to be fine. Things always work out for me in the end. Things always work out for me. I always get what I want. And this too shall pass. All right? So don't let these setbacks truly set you back. You don't need to go back to where you were. I mean, that's really the alternative, right? You really want to go back to where you don't want to be just because you had a setback, because you had doubt. You did it to yourself. You did it to yourself. Nobody else did it to you. Stop blaming others. And I have these challenges as well. I can't tell you how many times I blame this one, I blame that one, then I catch myself. No, you did it. You did it. I did it. They didn't do it. They're in my reality. I'm the operant power. I created this through my own doubt, and then afterwards, I don't want to take responsibility for it, and I blame myself. I blame them. When in reality, I'm creating all of their actions and everything through my thoughts. So, it's a process a lot of times, all right? But you look at those people from the past and Neville's stuff for inspiration to say, yeah, they didn't complain. They didn't complain. These people lived through wars, the Great Depression, this, that. This was child's play for them. They didn't have all these distractions, and they weren't so wishy-washy and, anxious and all this other garbage. They were tougher. They were tough. They came from a time period where people were tough, and they put their mind to it, and they did it. So that's up to you. Do it, right? Just like Ben Stiller in that Starsky and Hutch movie. Do it. Just do it. Okay? So anyway, I hope this is well received. You know, I don't do videos like this all the time because I don't always feel motivated or compelled enough or have the subject I really want to speak on. So I choose just sometimes I go a period without doing one. Right now, I'm trying to create more content on the Neville side. Uh, you know, affirmations, the mind movie, stuff like that. And there will be more of that coming in. I keep adding content to YouTube. And that's also the YouTube algorithm. You have to keep adding content. You can't let your channel go stagnant. I didn't do a video for like several months because I just wasn't motivated. And I don't know how much, whatever, with the YouTube stuff. And we're all creating it, right? Here I'm talking about YouTube like it's some other entity and I'm creating it. See, you always fall back to that because that's what's been your normalcy for your entire life. It's tough to think in different terms. So I catch myself all the time doing it. Uh, you're not alone in this, and you're not uniquely, what's the word? You're not uniquely incompetent. We all are. Okay, so just I hope it supports you, and you feel better about it and yourself and your own capabilities and competencies, and just work at it. Keep working at it. It is done. Choose that reality where you are what you want to be. So anyway, please like and subscribe. Please share the channel out. I'd appreciate it. And all of that stuff. So I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.